Hi, my name is Sarah Ginter. I am a writer and the programs manager at the Indiana Writer Center. I'm excited to be working with the Indianapolis Public Library on this presentation. A few words about the Indiana Writer Center. The Indiana Writer Center is a literary arts nonprofit that was founded in 1979. IWC provides creative writing classes in fiction, poetry, creative nonfiction, playwriting, and publishing. We also offer youth summer outreach programs and memoir projects. For more information on our upcoming classes and about IWC's mission, visit our website at indianawriters.org, and I will link to our website at the end of the presentation. So today is all about the basics of bullet journaling for writers. The bullet journal was created by a designer named Writer Carroll. He wanted to find a system of organization that worked for him after being diagnosed with a learning disability. His focus is teaching people about the method of bullet journaling, which is, as he says, the art of intentional living. And that's my main goal for today. I'm hoping you'll leave this presentation with a better understanding of how to organize your writing life so you can achieve your goals. There's a ton of information out there on bullet journals, so I'll do my best today to show you how it can be used for writers of all ages and stages of your writing journey. In my presentation today, you'll see a mock-up of a bullet journal I made using an old journal of mine. This bullet journal is something you can bring anywhere, and it holds your creativity, your ideas, innovations, imaginations, and story starters. It's really a book of magic. I'd normally describe my writing style as the classic pantser, defined as someone who sits down and writes kind of by the seat of their pants, writes with little planning as opposed to a plotter who plans out the story using outlines and other organizational things for writers. I find that the blank page in my story ideas used to be able to dance across the page with little effort, but now a blank page is sort of frightening. Maybe you can relate. So if I wanted to write, I knew I needed to change something. So planning became the new game plan. I've always loved journaling, but it wasn't until I researched it more that I found a whole universe of information and people who are dedicated to planning, habit tracking, journaling, and bullet journaling. I've always written lists, made collages, had goals and ideas, but the bullet journal helps you put it all in one organized place so you can use that information you write down so that it's easy to find. So you can develop a habit of creating a discipline for your process of writing, which is unique to you. Keep in mind that your bullet journal is for you, so it can look however you want it to look, so it best serves you and your needs. The idea is to pick up on little bits and pieces from my presentation and others online. And also I'll be leaving a link at the end of the presentation for you to visit a website where I found free printables. You can even cut and paste into your journal if you'd like. But again, the idea is for you to take bits and pieces from my presentation and other sources you find online so that you can create something magical of your own. Supplies. Writer Carroll does sell his own version of the bullet journal, which you saw on the previous slide, on his own website. You can see the picture of his journal. I'll see if I can go back. There. So he's got a few different kinds of those journals. This is, I think, one of his special editions. And I will also link to his website and the resource pages at the end of the presentation so you can look at his. But his journals come with a guide. They're pre-numbered. They come with the index that I'll be referring to here in a minute, and other things already done for you. But you don't have to buy this pre-made journal. You can make your own. So to start, you don't need anything fancy. All you really need is paper and something to write with. If you have blank paper, even printer paper and a stapler, you can even make your own journal. But if you also have maybe some old school spiral notebooks hanging around or an old journal, sometimes I have the habit of not finishing some of my journals in the past. So I had this one laying around that I had about halfway through, and the rest was halfway through had been completed, but I decided to pick it up and use it for this presentation. So you can, I think my last entry from this was 2017, but you can just pick it up and go to the middle of it. You don't need a brand new notebook unless you want to. So you can use a new or old spiral notebook or a new or old journal, but the point is you can start today without ordering a thing. But if you are looking for a supply list, you can consider using some of the following things that I have pictured here that I used. Things like colored pencils, markers, washi tape. You'll see you can buy washi tape really anywhere, Target, Amazon, bookstores, wherever. And it's kind of this really neat tape where it's, you know, can come in all sorts of patterns and things, but it's easily removable. It doesn't tear pages. It just, you can place it however you'd like to design or to attach maybe a picture or a quote or something. And it's just kind of a fun little thing to decorate your journal. You'll likely need a ruler to maybe make a habit tracker or draw out a calendar in your journal. Stencils, the stencils you see in the photo here, I purchased for $6, and it has probably 10 different stencil sheets that you can use. Different colored pens or colors of pens. I had already said colored pencils, but color pens such as flare pens, they're one of my favorite to use. You can have stickers, magazines I would recommend for collages, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a minute. And of course, your creativity and inspiration. So the first step in order to create your bullet journal is to number your pages. Some journals, like I mentioned, you can already find numbered, but most journals you find are not already numbered. So you will just take a few minutes and number each of your pages. The second step is to create your index, or for maybe a more writerly journal, you might want to call it the table of contents. You'll want to leave yourself at least 2 to 3 blank pages at the beginning of your journal, because you will build your journal full of entries over time, and you'll record them with a title and page number at the start of your journal so that you can easily go back and find what you're looking for. And that might be one of my favorite parts of the bullet journal, is that, you know, for years I would journal and have to-do lists and write down ideas for stories and things, but there was not a lot of organization to it. This sort of forces you to consider, to leave a space at the beginning of your journal so that you can, and your pages are already numbered. So as you can see in the second picture here, favorite writing quotes, and then on the second page, goals for writing. You know, it forces you to title your page so that you can go back to your table of contents and record it there so that you can then go back and look at your table of contents. Instead of just rummaging through your journal, you can see where in the world you put that information so you can find it easily. Step 3, what do I put in my journal? I think sometimes that can be a stopper. It's like, okay, I've already numbered my pages, I have my table of contents, but what in the world am I going to put in my journal? You might take a few minutes, maybe more than a few minutes, to brainstorm your writing goals so that you can help guide you, so it will guide you as to what you'd like to explore further in this journal. Are you writing a collection of short stories, book of poems? Are you working on a memoir? Are you starting a novel? Or do you just want space for your writerly things? It could be a bit of everything. You could have an entire bullet journal dedicated to planning an entire novel or a work in progress. But today I'm just going to provide you lots of ideas so that you can get started and imagine what your own bullet journal might be. So in your bullet journal, you will have many different collections or boards. This reminds me immediately of Pinterest. You can name these boards whatever you're interested in and exploring. Okay, you'll see in my mock-up journal that I have collections for writerly things I like, such as favorite quotes, a to-be-read pile, but I also have writing goals. This is a brainstorming list or log that I can come back to whenever I think of a writing goal I might want to accomplish. I'm going to go back to that. There. In a different collection, you might want to pluck out one of those goals and break it down further into smaller, more achievable tasks so that you can get to your goal. So as you can see on page 4, I have goals for writing, which is meant to be just a log or a list of things that come to mind that I might have as a goal for writing, whether it's for a chapter that I want to write or for a place where I might want to submit a piece of creative nonfiction. But the idea is what I'm describing is that you don't want your goals for writing to just simply exist on one page. You want to explore each of those goals further so that you can achieve them. And, you know, any large goal like writing a novel or submitting work or something or editing something, it has to be broken down into smaller goals because how else can you achieve it without really identifying what the steps are going to be in order to reach that goal that you first wrote down. So I'll give you an example here in a minute. So this is one of the places where I can see where the journal helps a person with living an intentional writing life. So at the beginning, I said writer Carol's intention for the bullet journal is to show people a method of writing, a method for bullet journaling, which is the art of intentional living. So you have given yourself a space here where you're allowing yourself to explore your own writing life and where you'd like it to go and what it exists in currently. And you have a space, again, back to the table of contents. You can kind of see this living, breathing list of things that you're writing about, which is kind of an exciting thing, I think. So you are spending time actively thinking about your writing life and how you might achieve those goals. So back to breaking down a goal for yourself into more achievable tasks. This is kind of a generic writing goal, but for example, you might break down, say you have a goal of writing 500 words in a day. Okay, so you've written down 500 words in a day. How might I pluck that goal out and apply it to a writing goal that or a work in progress that I already have? So you might take that goal that you took from your list for goals of writing and break down how you might accomplish that. Okay, you might think, all right, I'm going to break this down into 250 words in the morning and 250 words at night. You may time yourself. You may say, I'm giving myself 30 minutes 3 times a day to achieve this writing goal of mine. And then you may have another larger goal of wanting to get to 1,000 words a day, or maybe you want to get to 10,000 words in 1 week, and think about how you can break that down every day so it works for your life and your schedule. So 250 words in 250 words in the morning, 250 words at night. And then you know that you want to, here's another idea. Say you had a whole list or a log of places you wanted to research for setting for your novel, okay? Say you wanted to research Las Vegas more for your new thriller novel that you're just starting to explore, but you need to do research on restaurants in Las Vegas because your main character is a chef. So you need to be able to kind of see the different restaurants in Las Vegas and look at their menus and kind of start to really get into the specifics of what that setting might look like, because it's not enough just to say in your book, Las Vegas, he or she is a chef at X restaurant. You know, you want to be able to develop this picture of what this individual's restaurant might look like. So the idea is you need to continually break down these goals into tasks so that you can complete your goal of researching Las Vegas for your novel. Other collection ideas might be character name lists. Maybe you heard someone's name in the news, or when you're walking down the street for your walk and you hear someone talking and you hear a name, maybe you really liked it and you want to write it down later in your bullet journal. And again, you're constantly going to have ideas for setting and plot twists and chapter ideas, and things that you might generally would like to research later. So these are all things that you can create separate collections for. And you may take, for example, you may take an entire, I've gone too far here. There we go. I was looking for a page that I had done. Right, you may take an entire list of, I think if you can read that, it says ideas for setting to research for continued research. You may end up taking ideas from this page and creating 5 to 10 pages in the back of your journal on that one thing from that list. Or you may have an entire other journal later to explore setting for your novel. These are just very basic ideas for you to consider, but by no means should you stop yourself to one page to explore any one thing. Other ideas for your bullet journal. You can also have a future log where you can come back to that list and see different ideas you have for anything. Like it's kind of just a blank page for you that aren't categorized in any which way. There's nowhere to really put it in pages that you've already created. So it's just a future log for you to be able to go back and consider. Other things, you can track your daily word count, which I've shown you here. And you can begin to see, maybe once you're at the end of a month, you can go back and look at what you accomplished instead of just, sometimes I would have I would kind of get in the track of being excited about having written 750 words, for example, in an evening, but I didn't write it down anywhere. I didn't track it. And I think if you begin to track things like this, you can look once you're at the end of June, you can look at how much you've written. You can look for trends, see when maybe you were most active, maybe days when you were least likely to write, and you can plan writing breaks for the following month. Because though writing every day is an incredible goal, it's maybe not always feasible. So, if you can look at a month's time and see maybe you weren't writing on the weekends, or maybe you had a lot of success on Mondays and Fridays for some reason, maybe, use that activity to your advantage and plan for those times in the next month and give yourself some break days so that you're not disappointed when you know that you're probably going to take a break anyway. You can plan for the break. And then you can look at July's word count goal and see how you can adjust for August, and so on and so forth. The bullet journal can also be a place for to-do lists. Let's see if I have that here. Yeah, so in the weekly logs, it can also be a place for to-do lists. You can have a weekly log, a daily log, or a monthly log, so you can have an idea of what your month looks like so that you can see where you may make time for your writing. So if you don't want your bullet journal to be a place where you have these weekly logs of things that are not associated with writing, then maybe don't put it in your bullet journal. Or if you want this to be kind of a all-in-one type of journal, and you've got things like appointments and things that you want to put in your weekly log to help you plan, then that works too. So regardless of the collection, you might want to give yourself a couple more pages than you think you'll need for a particular topic, because you'll want to go back and keep adding to a list or a log. That's one of the things I love about bullet journaling, is that it's something that is continuous. You're building it. It's a living, breathing document and record of your goals and your brainstorming and exploration of your writing. It's your own personal workbook, and you can customize it however you want. Here are some other ideas for collections that, where you can title your page a certain way. as you can see, I'm here, I have podcasts, and I've written down 2 of my favorite podcasts that you might check out, Manuscript Academy and 88 Cups of Tea. Both have literary agents and publishers and authors and things for interviews, and Manuscript Academy specifically has certain opportunities where you can submit your first page of your novel, and they will critique it on the spot if it gets chosen. Just kind of fun things like that. Yeah, so kind of my page that says ideas for new collections, that's kind of my future log page. I might want to make a list of online writing classes that I see from different writing centers throughout the country, or the Indiana Writer Center, or ideas for, you know, what else? Places to submit your work. You can have a whole page of writing hashtags from Instagram and Twitter that you find that you don't want to forget about. One of my favorite ones from the writing Twitter world is hashtag MSWL, Manuscript Wish List. It's kind of having to do with that Manuscript Academy, where literary agents can post things that they're looking for in their slush pile. You may have a list of literary agents that you have read about or have seen in the acknowledgement page at the end of the novel that you just finished, that you might want to check out because maybe your writing style is similar to that book. You may have a list of who you have queried, which literary agents you've queried your novel, who you've queried, maybe their email address and when, and perhaps what their response was. You also want to leave a space for yourself for accomplishments. Maybe you did achieve your writing goal for the week. Maybe, you know, you don't have to win something necessarily in order to have an accomplishment. You can have accomplished a goal. So maybe you had a goal of submitting 2 poems to 5 different literary magazines, and that was the goal. You finally just got to submittable.com and found 5 that looked like would be great places for your poetry to be, and hopefully they'll end up accepting it, but the fact that you actually got your work out there is definitely an accomplishment. You may have a whole collection of craft books that you want to read, not to mention just other, you know, novels and memoirs and things, but craft books on writing. And the list goes on and on and on. So remember, there's no exact science to this. These are suggestions. The main goal of the bullet journal is to give yourself a place for your writing, or whatever thing you are trying to have a more intentional place for in your life. So though I'm talking about writing today, this can be a bullet journal for anything. Maybe you are starting to cook more and you're experimenting with different recipes and things. Sky's the limit. So I want to thank you for your time today. Please check out the links I have provided at the end of this presentation. So the first link you'll see here is bulletjournal.com. You can read about the original bullet journal. You can buy the bullet journal if you want, something that's pre-made, ready to go, and read more about writer Carroll and his journey in creating this method for organization. The second bullet point, AngelaMIsaacs.com, how to start a writing bullet journal. She has a ton of information on her website and inspiration for you to kind of further this research on bullet journaling. And she even is the one I mentioned earlier who had free printables, especially I think she's got one if you subscribe to her newsletter. She does have a couple just on there that you can click and you're ready to go. Cut it out, paste it in. And you can also just Google things like bullet journal for writers, ideas, bullet journal, free printables. And even if you don't use the printable, you can kind of see what someone has created for their printable and see if it's something that you might be inspired to create a version of for yourself. You can also look at Etsy for habit trackers that you could easily cut and paste into a journal, depending on the size of your journal. And you can find word count sheets or directions on how to create one using a ruler, shaving in your progress, etc. And of course, Twitter and Instagram and Pinterest are full of beautiful examples of bullet journals. And then finally, the last link that I have given you today is to the Indiana Writers Center, indianawriters.org. We have moved toward virtual classes for the time being and have lots of different course offerings, and we'll continue to do so as the summer goes on. So I encourage you to kind of explore our website, find us on Facebook, and see and be engaged in the writing community in Indianapolis, because we're here and it's active, and there's a lot to learn and people to meet and things. But I hope that you will kind of start your bullet journal today, tomorrow, next week, something, and let it be a place for you to have your goals, your aspirations for writing, and maybe a place even to dream a little bit. So thank you for your time today, and good luck with your writing. Thank you.